we will get started. I think we need to get the recording going. We might still have some folks joining us, but this will be recorded so people can catch parts that they miss. Okay, I see the little record button, so
yep. I'll go ahead and get started, Ann.
Okay.
Great, thanks. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on your time zone. I am Patrice Melanson. I am the newly appointed Vice Chair of Internal Affairs for the SAME Academy of Fellows. Thank you so much for joining us this morning to go over a presentation on the Fellows nomination process. We hope that you will find this informative and certainly are very willing to take questions that folks may have at the end of the presentation. I am joined today by Ann Evie, who is the newly appointed Deputy of the SAME Academy of Fellows. She previously held the position that I am now currently in, the Vice Chair of Internal Affairs. So I appreciate her joining me. Kathy, can we have the next slide? So very briefly, we're going to go over the Fellows role, what being a Fellow is all about. We're going to cover the nomination form, and then we're also going to go through the review phases. So hopefully it will be crystal clear to you all what needs to be done at what point. Slide, please. So I'm just going to remind everyone about the Fellows charge. It's here on the slide for you to read. But really, the Fellows is not just a recognition of there's a hot mic out there somewhere. I guess I should have started. I guess I should remind everyone, if you're not speaking, please do keep your microphones turned off. We also ask that you keep your cameras turned off. That helps with the bandwidth. Again, the Fellows charge, becoming a Fellow is not just to recognize the support that you've given to the society in the past, but it's really, the focus is on your future endeavors and really a renewed commitment to support the mission, to support SAME's strategic plan, really to serve as a role model. And a lot of what the Fellows is about is mentoring. Mentoring either individual members or groups of members or posts that may be struggling, and really just to promote that patriotism and respect and support for our military and for national security. So with that, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Ann, who's going to walk you through the nomination form and the process. Thanks.
Okay, Kathy, can I get somebody mic check? If you can let me know in the chat if you're hearing me okay, if you're seeing everything okay. Okay. So I will say, if you have questions throughout, please don't hesitate to speak up. We can use the chat. I personally am very bad at trying to multitask with the chat. So Kathy and Patrice will be monitoring that, and we'll make sure we get everything answered. So thank you guys, first of all, above all, just for taking the time for this webinar. You know, we've done this every year. I've always said, you know, people ask, well, what's the audience? Who's the audience for today? I think that's a really good question, because I encourage anybody and everybody who is interested in any aspect of the Fellows nominations to participate in this. If you're thinking about being nominated this year for a Fellow, even in the next 2, 3, 4 years, I think this webinar is supposed to be very helpful. Anybody that has a process part in the process, you know, reviewing nominations, RBPs, regional Fellows points of contact, you know, anybody at all. So please, again, this is recorded. Don't hesitate, let people know about it, remind them it's out there. We try to go through the process and give you kind of some tips that we think are going to help everybody throughout the process. Over the past few years, I would say really heavily, the last maybe 4 years, we have tweaked the nomination form and the process, not in huge ways, but we've done that in response to feedback that we've got, lessons learned. We do an after action review every year, and we solicit input from people. What did you like about the process? What was good, bad? I think one of the big things is that we want this to be transparent. So we want everybody to understand how the process works. We want to be able to help you in your nomination preparation. A couple of the items that I think we kind of want to highlight today, and you'll keep hearing these throughout the presentation, the 10 years of membership versus 10 years of service. This is not a change necessarily to the nomination form, but we realized that it was pretty unclear how we conveyed that. So we really are looking for 10 years of involved service, not just membership. And again, we'll cover that a little bit more later, but that's a point that I want to kind of hammer in there. And then impact and commitment. So what impact have you personally had, and what is your commitment moving forward? So those are kind of three areas that I think you'll hopefully see throughout the nomination form that we're really looking to kind of key in on. So we're going to do a couple things today. We're going to go through the actual nomination form, again, kind of give some tips and things that we're looking for, and then we're going to go through the process just so that you guys all understand, what's all involved. So next slide. The actual nomination form, very, very minor changes from the last 2 years. A few things, we worded things, just a few words here and there to try and make it more clear. So again, nothing substantial, I would say, this year. The first part of the nomination form is just the nominee information. Your information that you put here has to match what's in your SAME record. I would suggest, if you have questions on that, reach out to Kathy Off, but please do it in advance. Don't wait until September 29th and reach out to her and say, hey, what does my information say? I will also say, or encourage, I guess, folks, to check it on your own. Go onto the SAME website, log in, and you can see all of your information as we have it in the database. So please double check that. If you do have questions, again, don't hesitate to reach out to Kathy. One of the things that has come up in the past, the 10 years. So this is 10 years of membership by October 1 when the nomination form is due. We've had people who say, I'll have my 10 years while you're in the process. It has to be 10 years by the time you submit the nomination. One more thing, this is a distinction between 10 years of membership versus service. So this one is actual membership. This is a go, no go. If you have 9 years and 364 days, your nomination will not move forward to the evaluation at all. So the membership in item number 1 is a go, no go. The 10 years of service is in the next part, so we can move on to that one. So item number 2, this is your service to SAME. This is, I would say, the meatiest part of the nomination. Definitely the most points out of any of the elements are awarded here. Couple of things, and again, this part is pretty much unchanged from last year, except we did add, I think, a few more points. So 2A is just a single bulleted list of the things that you're going to detail then in 2B. You could look at that and say 5 points for a list. That 5 points shouldn't make or break any nomination, but 5 points here, 5 points there, definitely will. So that's why we thought it was still important to keep some points assigned to that. We want to make sure that we can translate, here's what's in 2A, and it's detailed in 2B. So the challenge, effort, and impact format, gosh, I don't remember if that was last year or 2 years ago that we changed that, but it was a really good improvement. We saw nominations were easier to follow, easier to read. A couple of things that I want to point out here, and these are just random, things that I think are important or things that I've heard over the years related to this criteria. you do not have to have been a post president to become a fellow. That is just kind of a myth that I've always heard. Oh, I didn't get it, and it has to be because I didn't check that box. There is no single position or role that that's the case for. You do not have to have national level experience. You do not have to have, again, any specific role, but we really do look at your whole commitment to SAME here. So if you have involvement at the post level, the regional level, the national level, that's really what we want to see there. We want to see kind of that progression that you've been involved in multiple areas. But again, that is not a deal breaker, but it definitely is something that that helps, I would say. And again, that last bullet there, that involved service. So we've put more and more focus on it over the past, I'd say, 2 years. I think this year we're going to put even more focus on it. If you attend meetings, that is so important to the heart of what SAME does and the involvement. But we want to see that you did more than just attend meetings. We want to see that you were involved in some other way. And I will say, I am a big proponent of quality versus quantity. So whether that's at SAME or at home with my 14-year-old, I am always harping on that. So again, please don't feel discouraged if, oh, geez, I've been involved for 13 years, but, I may have done multiple things at the post level, but not at the national level. Again, that's okay. We just want to see some variety, some progression, the quality of the work, the impact of the work that you've been involved in. So before we move on to the next one, I want to see, Kathy, is there anything in the chat that I need to cover on 2A or 2B?
Phil Deacon asked about how long the description section challenge effort impact should be. And Patrice mentioned, quality versus quantity. I would say it definitely is going to be harder to go under the word limit than to go over the word limit. And I was just going to try and find the word limit really quick, but I know that when I do that, the Word document will pop up. So just be patient.
No, I've got it right here.
Okay, good.
So both word limit and format, the way that we have it worded, we say a nomination may be rejected if word count or format is disregarded. I'm going to be very open with you here. There were a few years in a row that we looked at every single word and we counted and we said, man, this person's over by 3 words. Is that really the intent of what we're doing? Are we really trying to keep somebody from becoming a fellow because they went 3 words over? No, not at all. So please be mindful of it. If it's blatant, if we notice it, if we really feel like those extra words, did cause maybe an unfair advantage, then a nomination can be disregarded. So let's see, it looks like to be 1,200 words or less for that. Yep. And again, I think we put that on there multiple times, about the format and the word limit. So.
And Anne, you have 2 more questions.
Okay.
One is the 10 years cumulative? Does it have to be consecutive or can it be spread out over, your 10 years of service? Can that be spread out over 20 years?
Okay. I think the short answer is yes. That one gets very tricky. We specifically added some wording last year to kind of address, we had some people who were deployed or in a combat zone, so they might have had a few years with a break and then a few more years. Those are the kind of things we just want to see 10 years of involved service. So it does not have to be consecutive. Definitely just the way, I think the way we worded it was, if you have periods like that, just kind of explain how you either stayed engaged or how you came back into being engaged, things like that. And then Should involvement, impact as a student member be included? Absolutely. Yep, definitely. You are an SAME member through and through, so we want that included. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. So I know there's a lot of words on here. This is just some examples. Just the way that this is written up is so important because you do have that word limit. I think one of the keys here is help us help you, help us give you points. So there were some nomination forms in years past that were just the format of them and the way that they were written, they were so hard to follow. We couldn't figure out, wait, what has this person really done? Or we had to, connect this dot to figure out what the person's involvement was. So going to this challenge, effort, impact, that has really helped us. And I think where that's important is for you all to understand kind of how, we're looking at 80 nominations. We want to be able to see very clearly, here is the challenge, here is the effort, and here is the impact. That's where we can give you more points, I guess, during our evaluation. So I'm not going to read through these, but I think it's a good way that you can see grammatically correct enough that we can understand what you're saying, with the understanding, though, that you do have a word limit. So I think just, again, at your convenience, maybe just kind of take a read at some of those. Those are just some that it's a lot for a slide, but that's not a lot of words to convey some pretty serious impact. Okay, next slide. All right, so 3A and 3B are very, very similar to 2A and 2B, just from the professional or work side compared to SAME. Couple of things here. This is for the profession. This is not just your job. So please don't limit it to just, I go to this office from 8 to 5 every day. I'm only focused on that. This can be really, really broad. Anything that impacts the profession at all. That last bullet, I think that's really the key. Civic involvement. If you're involved in your church, in your homeowners association, in PTA, that's where some of these things we can tie those in. And again, we want to help you. So tie those in somehow to the profession, and all of those things can kind of be included here. We tried to include that language, I think, last year for the first time, and we saw the spectrum go all the way from one end to the other. So we used to have people who put only their profession, only their job-related work. And then when we added some language saying, hey, this can include civic, we had some folks who went the other direction, and they didn't even mention their job. We have no idea who they work for, what they do to contribute to the profession, but they had amazing contributions around the community or, in other professional organizations. So it really, really is a mix here. Please keep in mind that, the title of this one still has profession in it. So we definitely want to see that. Just don't hesitate to add in some other things. Besides that, again, same thing on 3A and B. A is a bulleted list. B follows that challenge, effort, impact, word limit, font size, all of that is on the nomination form. Okay, next one. So awards and citations include anything, civic, things with your job, SAME. We sit in this room and we do consensus, and we have such a great variety in the review committee. I don't know what all of the very detailed military awards are, for example, but someone at the table will. So let me see if this one has a word limit. Okay, there is not a word limit on that one. So, but don't worry about it listing the award in a paragraph about what it is. You can literally put the name of the award when you got it. Very important, again, this isn't really a change, but we want to make it more clear to you that we need your specific role in awards. So if you have a award listed that your company received, that's great. But to give you, I mean, I hate to use the word credit, but to give you any credit for that, make sure you put what you did or what your specific role was in your firm getting that award. Okay, number 5, society knowledge. This one, I think we have less questions this year than usual, but it's the same format. These are all questions that can be found on the SAME website. It's not meant to be a scavenger hunt. It's not meant to have you searching all over into the details of the website to get the answers by any means. But there's things that are important, some pretty key areas of our society. So the point is to kind of make sure that people are familiar with the website, where they can find some information. And it's pretty cool facts, to be honest, that are included in there. Again, 10 points. If you miss one question, it's not going to make or break it. But cumulative, it definitely can have an impact. Do not cut and paste from the website. I don't know if it's on there anymore. I don't believe it is, but we used to have a question, how do you update your membership record? Well, please don't go to the website and copy and paste the whole, half a web page and put it in there. You can type in very simply, log in, click this link, hit save, that type of thing. So again, just kind of putting it in your own words, I think that helps. Okay, let me stop again. Any more questions? I think we're good. Okay, let's keep going. Next slide. Yep, future role. Okay. This is near and dear to, I think, to me and Kathy's hearts, for those of you that have received phone calls and emails from us in the past who've maybe gone through the process. In the past, this was kind of a 2-part question. It was, what is your passion as it relates to the SAME mission and vision? And then what is your commitment, kind of tying back to that passion? So what we've done is we've changed that to just one part. We just want your commitment. This is used for a lot of different things. And so I think it's important for people to understand that, to know why it's so important to us. Being a fellow is all about recommitting. You are recommitting to be engaged. Becoming a fellow should not be one of those things that's, hey, I have had a great SAME career and I'm ready to check out, so I'm going to become a fellow so that I can have that, that honor. That's not the intent. Being a fellow is to recommit, to re-engage, to keep our society growing. And so we want to know what your commitment to SAME is. Now, again, this is another one, quality versus quantity, I would say. You don't have to say, oh, I'm going to be involved in 3 committees and I'm going to eventually be the SAME national president and I'm going to do all these things. All of us that have been involved, every one of you knows how much of an impact you can make by reaching out to one person or by being on one committee. So just please know that we really are looking for something that we think is genuine, that you want to do, that's measurable, that can be attainable, actionable is the term I think that we have on the form. But again, where we use these. So you will read these at investiture. Each one of you, hopefully in person, will read your commitment statement. So we really wanted, that's kind of where that second bullet comes into play. This is limited to, I think, 2 sentences this year. We have had people in the past who have a run-on sentence that's really an entire paragraph, but they knew they had to keep it to 1 sentence. So please just be mindful of that. You want to come across well when you read this. You want it to be something that people can understand when you're going through it. These will be on the SAME website. They'll all be posted there. And then, to be honest, one of the neatest things that I think we do with them, we have the national leadership team, we have COIs, We have people all the time who are saying, hey, I need a volunteer for this. I need somebody to help with that. We will give them the commitment statements, or we will go through them and say, oh, hey, you need somebody to do this? Well, this person said that they're committed to doing that. So we're going to hook you guys up and hopefully they can help. So I think you're going to see more and more of that in the next few years. We're hoping to follow up with people on their commitment statements. We want to know a year or two down the road, what have you done to contribute to that? And I would say, so this is not, again, I keep going back to the make or break. I apologize. This is one that if it doesn't come across well, if it's not grammatically correct, you can expect that as part of your, I don't even know what you call it, when we extend the congratulations to you for becoming a fellow, if this needs revised, we will expect it revised right away. That's something that, again, I think knowing what it's used for, kind of will help people write that, if that makes sense. So, and I want to get through the rest of the webinar, but then we do have some examples of, I won't say good and bad, I will say poor and better commitments that we can talk about. Okay, let me see, I see something in the chat. Okay. So these next couple of items, part of the nomination form, the citation, again, I don't think there's no points associated with that one. Pretty clear cut when you see the nomination form. Number 8, your endorsements. This has changed over the years. I don't think it didn't change between last year and this year. This is a go, no go. You have to have 4 required endorsements. The nominator must be a fellow. You have to have your regional fellows point of contact, your RVP, and your post president. Please don't, we deal with case-by-case instances every year on this. So let's say your post president has moved on, or let's say you are the RVP, lots of different things. We will help you through this. I think the key is just please reach out in advance. We had, I think, a couple of people last year that we had kind of alternates as their endorser. And I remember specifically that we worked on those in the July, August timeframe. So before anything was due, we will help you figure out who needs to be your alternate if that's the case. So very easy to figure that one out. It just has to be done in advance. And I think that kind of skipped around that second one, that ensure your endorsers are given enough time to prepare. So I get it. I understand that you might not know your RVP really well. So for those of you who are looking to put in a nomination 2 or 3 or 4 years down the road, then please, start getting to know them. But the whole, I guess, our rationale there is that it shows that you are involved. If you know the people at those levels. And I think I just saw something good come in from Kathy, if I read it right, about additional, I thought I saw that, no extra consideration. Oh, because of who your nominator is. Yeah, I mean, I can tell you honestly, I don't care who the person is, what position they've held in SAME. I can tell you for a fact that does not come into play. Your nominator must be a fellow, period. You don't get extra points for having additional endorsements. So that's just one of those I would save everybody some time, save the endorser sometimes. We need those 4. But again, this is a go, no go. So if you do not have those specific 4, then the nomination will not move forward. Okay. Is a prior RVP okay? Prior post president? Again, it has to be on a case-by-case basis. The short answer would be no. It must be the RVP, the post president. So don't hesitate to get a hold of us if there's a reason that that person can't do it. By all means, we can find an alternate, but otherwise it does need to be the current person. Yeah, regional fellows point of contact. Oh, I don't remember how many years ago that role started. But yeah, there's a list on the website. So this is, you have the RVP at the regional level, but then there's also a regional fellows point of contact. I understand that every post is very different in your makeup of fellows. I'm very fortunate to be from a post that has a very vibrant, we have our own council of fellows, but there's some posts that, that isn't the case. So the regional fellow is kind of meant to be that consistency, convey things directly to the post points of contact. And that person has an increasingly important role in the process I've seen over the last 5 years. So definitely an important role. Okay, next slide. What if the nominator is also the regional? Again, just get a hold of us in advance and we can work out any case-by-case basis. I would say, I can just tell you in that case, I would say we need to get a different nominator then, since the regional fellow, it is who it is. But yeah, please don't hesitate. Reach out to Patrice, myself, and Kathy, and we'll make sure that all of those are taken care of. Just got to make sure it's done in advance. Okay, calendar. In my mind, this was all very clear, so hopefully it is when it comes across. 2 dates on here, 3 dates, a few dates that are hard deadlines. I'm actually going to start with the August 6th date. So August 6th, Regional Fellows Point of Contacts gives a list to Kathy of the fellows that may be submitted in their region. This is only a list. It's not no nomination, no draft nomination. We just need a list that basically shows us who is interested and who is currently working on a nomination in your region. Now, when nominations come in when they're due October 1st, you have to have been on that list August 6th and expressed interest, that much in advance for your nomination to move forward. If you submit a nomination on October 1st and that name was not on that list on August 6th, it will be deferred until next year. That is a hard date. And that was actually a direct result of feedback that we got 2 or 3 years ago. So the reason that the first bullet is not bolded is because it's kind of up to the regional fellows. It's subjective to some extent. The point there is that your regional fellow needs to see something. We're calling it 50% draft. They need to see, okay, this person is at least thinking about it. They've started. They're putting some effort into this. So there's no set date from the national office. That is up to each regional fellow's point of contact. They might say, hey, I need your 50% draft by the 5th, or I need it by the 2nd. So please reach out to your regional fellow's point of contact if you have any questions about that, because they will be required to submit a list on the 6th, and that list is it. I think I saw Kathy added in there. If you submit a 50% draft and your name is on the list, and you decide, or you're in working with your nominator, you guys decide that you are not going to move forward, that's fine. No issues there. Okay, August 27th. That is your complete draft of your nomination due to the regional fellows point of contact. We are asking regional fellows that if a packet is not submitted by that date, they really need to consider not endorsing. We aren't going to go so far as to say do not, but we don't know. So at the national office, we get a list on August 6th, and then we get final nominations on October 1st. What happens in between there doesn't get submitted to the national office. If a regional fellow, We wouldn't know if a regional fellow said, hey, I don't need it August 27th, don't worry about it, just get it to me by late September. We don't know that. That's on them then. This date, again, this was put in there as a direct result of feedback from the regional fellows as a way, to be honest, what was happening, they were getting some nominations submitted, that they were seeing for the first time a week before they were due. And that's just too much to ask of them to do a quality review and provide feedback. So the rest of the dates, are pretty, nominations are due October 1st. I'll go through the next steps on the next slides. So let me see if there's anything on this one. Okay. Okay, yep, I don't think anything new. So here's the actual review phases. Phase 1, this is what happens really any time between now and October 1. So formal parts of that include your regional fellow, your RVP, and your post president and your nominator. They are endorsing you. They are signing a letter saying that you should be a fellow. We expect that they have all reviewed your nomination packet to, whatever level is appropriate. We are really trying to put pressure on the regional fellows. They just have such an important role in this process. We need them to make sure that nominations, the simple stuff, make sure it's formatted right. We got in a couple last year that were previous year's forms, and we could tell that because the society knowledge questions were different. Well, that tells me that you didn't even take the time to go onto the website and get the most recent form. So those are the things that need to be done in phase 1. Again, the regional fellows point of contact, the RVP, post president, the nominator, but please don't hesitate to go outside of that. I've had people ask me to help them a review in the past. Just keep in mind that if a member of the executive committee that's part of the review process does have a role in your nomination, they will have to recuse themselves from the actual scoring and consensus. So again, phase 1 is everything getting your nomination submitted. Again, I would reach out to your regional fellows point of contacts. And we're going to have a call with them next week, I think, to kind of go through this a little bit more. But, see if there's anything that would help them help you. Do they want to see something by a certain date? Do they want to see something in a certain format? Things like that. Okay, next slide. So phase 2, this is basically a go, no go by the national office. I really like this third bullet. There should be no no-goes in this process. So what the national office is doing is they're making sure, do you have 10 years of membership? Is it in the right format? Things like that. If it isn't, then your regional fellows point of contact, your RVP, your nominator, or your post president has let you down, because it will be deferred, and that should not be the case. Again, those things should have been worked out during phase 1. Just to give you an idea, this phase normally takes a few days. I'd say a week at most. Phase 3. So phase 3 is the full-blown review. So you've got the AOF Executive Committee. That's the chair, the deputy, and all the vice chairs. We review, every single person reviews every single nomination. We read front to back, every word. We all go through and score them. I think, Kathy, it's actually on the next one, laid out a little bit more. On the next slide. Yep. So what we do is we all kind of have a kickoff meeting before Kathy distributes all the nomination packages to us. And we go through the form. We go through talking about scoring and how things are done. It's been talked about in the past. Maybe we need to make this more of just a check the box, and we've decided against that every year. So the key to this is making sure that we are consistent in how we are scoring these nominations. So again, we will go through each and every one. We will all have scores for every individual element, total scores. But I guess that's another myth that I've heard over the years is this is the cutoff, and if you're above it, you become a fellow, and if you're below it, you don't. That is not the case. We sit down then, up until last year, we sat in a room. I hope we do that again this year. And we do a consensus, and everybody talks through all of the nominations. So I love the way that we do it, to be honest. I feel that by the time we have investiture, I feel like I know these people, you know, because I've read so much and we've talked about them. And why that's so important is, let's say I missed something. Let's say I'm reviewing and I completely skipped past. I didn't key in on something that you said that was your impact, and someone else points it out to me. Or maybe it's a post role that I don't really understand, and somebody can explain that to me better. So then we do a true consensus, and we can adjust scores, and you know, we come up with basically a final matrix that has every single nominee down the side, all of the different elements across the top, and we decide as a group that day the people that we will recommend moving forward. I think that is on the next slide, Kathy. So, you know, I think the reason that first bullet is important to me is because this really is a group process. I mean, this is a group effort. So the executive committee will make a recommendation to the chair, by the chair to the SAME president, of the people that should be selected as fellows. The SAME president has the authority, I guess, I don't know if that's the right word, to discuss with the national leadership team, to discuss things, to consult them, and then we will notify both select and non-select nominees by, I think by the end of December is when we will do that. And we want to be able to provide helpful information. So we do offer up, we like to provide some kind of a debrief if your nomination was deferred. Next slide. Okay, let me just get through this slide and then we will go to, I think there's some stuff building up in the chat. So this is my random, we got the webinar put together and here's all these things that I didn't know where they fit. So that is what this slide is. Our objective is to strengthen and build the Academy of Fellows. Again, I cannot stress enough that this should be a recommitment to being involved. I hope that when you're considering putting in a nomination for fellow, think about why you want to become a fellow. It's on the honor system. You can say you're going to commit to this, and then you get fellow, and then you're gone. You know, unfortunately, that isn't good for the society. It isn't good for the Academy of Fellows. So please just put some thought into it. I mean, it's a big honor, I would say, but again, it's a big commitment as well. That second one, that really is the help us help you. So again, just think about, and I'm not saying this to get sympathy, but think about, I'm sitting there reading to be for 70 different nominees. Help me clearly see the impact that you made. Help me clearly see, oh, this person has done a lot. Oh, they've been involved. They've really progressed, you know, over their SAME career. The way that you word things, it's not about sounding fancy or being wordy. It's really about just conveying the impact that you've had. And then, you know, yeah, if you have questions, do not hesitate. I remember when I was considering putting in for fellow, a few years before I actually did, I didn't know who to reach out to, and I thought it was such a, it wasn't very transparent to me because I didn't reach out. I didn't try to understand. So we are more than happy to help, to answer questions. I would say, again, just if you have an actual member of the XC that's really involved, then they have to recuse themselves. Do not hesitate to reach out to me, Patrice, or Kathy. Really, any member of the executive committee can probably get you the answer, but no need to spin your wheels. If you have a question about something on the nomination form or the process, what something means, just get a hold of us. We are happy to help with any of those. So, okay, I've got a lot of chats built up. So, and Kathy, so I'm going through these. I don't know if these are just comments or questions that people have.
So, Anne, I was just making a few comments. One was that scoring is done solely on the basis of what is written, not from personal knowledge of the person. So if you happen to know somebody on the AOFXC, that's not going to help you. It still needs to be conveyed in your packet. And then Jim asked a question about, a few years ago, we had RFPOCs as part of the go, no-go process for all packets, and that has changed. We want them to focus on their region submissions and making sure that those are ready for the October 1 deadline and that they don't send any forward that are not.
Yep.
Did you want?
Yeah, that's a really good point. We'd rather have you do a really quality review on your region instead of just the quantity of all of the packets.
Did you want me to show, just since we have a little bit of time, the future commitment statement document?
Yeah, I would open it up. If anybody has questions, please either put them in the chat or go off mute. Again, Kathy will pull up some of the commitment statements. And again, we're not trying to be mean. Just think about, do you want to be on screen at investiture reading something that's clunky and, grammatically not correct? Is it something that will really help, let's say the COIs, really help understand what you are committed to helping with, what you could be involved with? Okay, so it's really small on my screen. I think Control+ increases it on your own screen, or Kathy might be able to.
And we can post this on the webpage as well, on the How to Nominate a Fellow webpage, just so people can see different examples. And Eric Wilbur asked if we would be providing a link to the webinar. Yes, the recording will be available on the How to Nominate a Fellow webpage, which can be found by going to the AOF webpage. And that's also where the form will be. So once this webinar is over, we'll be posting the form so you can kind of look at the form along with the slides, and it'll all make a lot of sense.
And I will say these are not necessarily specific people's good and bad.
No, these
aren't calling people
made up.
We're just giving you examples.
Nobody submitted these. They're completely made up. But you can see the idea.
And
the idea here is that we're not looking for overarching, pie in the sky type stuff. We want specifics.
Okay. I hesitate to say this, which probably means I shouldn't, but I'm going to. Kathy, we'd have all of the current commitment statements on the website, right?
Correct.
So I would encourage you to look at those. Unfortunately, we're giving you advance notice now that we will expect you to update your commitment statement, you know, if it's not worded very well. We don't want to change your commitment. It's your commitment. You need to own that. We're just going to help maybe with the wording. So we're giving you that heads up. We didn't do that in the past, so we could not necessarily force people to change their commitment statements, let's say last year. So I will say that there might be a couple on the website that are a little wordy or, you know, maybe not clear, but there's some really, really good examples on there. So I just saw a comment about, can a post submit more than one fellow? You know, I know, I'll be honest, my post for the longest time had this mentality that we have to submit a fellow every year. And it was just kind of like a goal. I really struggled with that because I don't want to waste anybody's time if it's not a quality submission. So there's no minimum, maximum expectation, nothing like that as far as numbers. Same goes for the number of fellows selected every year. Okay. I will give people a chance to go off mute and ask questions if you have them. Let's see. Yeah, please, again, Patrice is now in the internal role. Please include Kathy and I on questions. Make sure that we're all, you can just send an email to all of us. Make sure that we're all included there so that we can give you a consolidated answer. The one, again, yeah, I think Kathy, like Kathy said, the nomination form, the current one, minimal changes, but definitely some changes. Biggest item is that society knowledge. So don't hesitate. You know, reach out to us if you're unsure, but the current nomination form will be posted. And I think we changed it at the very top this year. It says class of 2022.
Kathy, is the form already? Kathy, is the form already posted on the website? Oh, you said today after the webinar. Gotcha.
Yep. I was waiting until this webinar to post it so that nobody jumped the gun and didn't pay attention to
Perfect. Great, thanks.
So again, please pass this on to anybody that you think, you know, even in future years to really understand that progression of SAME. That's something you have to think about multiple years in advance of submitting a nomination. So thank you guys for your time. Thank you. Pass this on to anybody. Don't hesitate to reach out to us with questions. And I'd also like to just thank you for your involvement and your, you know, the time and talent that everybody's given to SAME as a whole, not just the Academy of Fellows, but thank you for that. So with that, I will say goodbye, good afternoon, and you guys have a good one. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all.
Have a great day.
Bye. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.